Welcome to Daily Living with Father Chapin. Our show goes a bit long today, so we're going to go ahead and jump right on in it. What do you say? A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up on the mountain. And after he had sat down, his disciples came to him. He began to teach them, saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the land. Blessed are they who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall be shown mercy. Blessed are the clean of heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are they who are persecuted for the sake of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when they insult you and persecute you and utter every kind of evil against you falsely because of me. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward will be great in heaven." The gospel of the Lord. My friend, we got a great show for you today. Okay, so you stick around and we'll be right back, and we're going to talk about this gospel that comes to us here as we celebrate the solemnity of All Saints. Hi, this is Father Chapin, host of Daily Living with Father Chapin. I want to talk to you for just a moment about my passion, about my mission. I hear from time to time from people that watch the show that for whatever reason they can't leave the house. And Daily Living is the only good news that they really receive throughout the week. Now, it's very expensive to reach people through broadcast ministry, but we are making a difference in people's lives. And if you would like to consider supporting this ministry, we're going to put up the information on the screen at the next break as to exactly how you can do that. But I would ask you to prayerfully consider supporting Daily Living so that we can take the good news to a lost world. What do you say we get back to the show now? Welcome back to Daily Living. Today we have a gospel that one could say is the mission statement of Jesus. We've talked about this a time or two in the past, but it is true that if I was to go out into the street and ask people, and I know because I'm a people, right? Hey, why did Jesus come to the world? You might get a lot of different versions of it, but you're going to get one basic theme. Jesus came to the world to save us, right? He died on the cross so that we will go to heaven if we believe in him someday. And that, of course, is true. That is scriptural. But it regulates Jesus to an end-of-life issue. And I fear that many of us, if we are subscribing to this belief, miss the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is that a very big part of why Jesus came to this world was to teach us how to be human beings. Isn't it true? It makes perfect sense. God made us. He's Bill Gates and we're Microsoft, right? I mean, he knows how we operate. Jesus is the incarnation of God to flesh, so it makes sense that he would know how we're designed. And speaking of human beings, it's true that human beings are very different than all of other creation. Isn't it true that walk this planet? Let's start with the fact that we seem to be the least equipped to survive in the elements. I mean, you stick a man out in the woods naked, you know, eventually he's going to die, right? Because we don't have fur. We don't have sharp fangs. But we are different than everybody else in the sense that we were created to be creators. And part of that is this instinctual drive to ask why. A penguin doesn't float on an ice float contemplating the existence of the universe asking why. No. An orange does not ask why, but even the smallest child will ask you why. And I'll tell you what, if you've been around children, they ask that a lot. That is true. And even though very very much is the case that human beings are different throughout the world. Isn't that true? I mean, we're very different in a lot of ways throughout the languages and cultures, but the truth of the matter is we're much more alike than we are different. And one thing that makes us so alike is that no matter where you are, whether you're in downtown Manhattan or in an Aboriginal tribe in the back rainforests of the Amazon, okay, we are all driven by a common desire to be happy. Isn't that true? We seek happiness. It's universal. Once upon a time, there was a famous philosopher. He's a mathematician, lived in the 1600s. His name was Blaise Pascal. He was the Einstein of his day, died at 39. Amazing what he was able to do in such a short life. But as he was coming near his death, he started to grapple with the reality that despite all he had accomplished, and he accomplished a lot, he wasn't happy. And he wrote, "All men seek happiness. This is without exception. Happiness is the motive of everything a man does, even those who hang themselves." Fact is, we're all looking for happiness, but so few of us seem to ever find it. Oh, we might have fleeting moments. You know, Notre Dame won the game. Somebody gave me this really cool rain jacket. You know, I found 20 bucks on the sidewalk, but you know, it doesn't last. And soon we find ourselves looking into the mirror saying, you know what? I'm not happy. And the quest continues. We keep searching for that which seems to elude us. In fact, I heard the other day that 1 out of 8 people in this country suffer from depression. Clinical depression. I'm not talking about having a bad day. I'm talking about walking around with a perpetual, unshakable feeling of dread. And of course, pharmaceutical companies, they're making a killing. I mean, they're making money. Did you know that there is at least 40 different types of antidepressants on the market today? 40! And the use of antidepressants over the last 15 years has gone up 400%. As we look to science to create a drug to do what? Make us happy. So, with all that said, let's talk about this gospel. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up on the mountain. And he sat down, his disciples came to him, and he began to teach them. Now, this is where we begin. Jesus is being followed by a large crowd, and we have Jesus climbing a mountain, much like Moses many years earlier climbed a mountain, came down with the 10 Commandments, changed everything. Isn't that true? Today, Jesus is climbing another mountain, and what he's coming down with will change your world if you let it. Because what he's coming down with is nothing less than a treasure map to find that which we seem to all be looking for. But like water in cupped hands just seems to run through our fingers. Blessed are. What follows are 9 statements beginning with those words, blessed are. Not a word you hear too much outside of religious circles. Seems to be edited out of the lingo. I mean, the only time I really can think of hearing it is when I say, hey man, you're a lucky dog. And they say, no, I'm not lucky, I'm blessed. Isn't that true? And that, of course, is true. But before we get into the Beatitudes, which we're going to, and there's a lot to get into, I want to talk for just a moment about that word, blessed. It is derived from a Greek word, makarios, and what it means is a deep, long-lasting state of happiness. It is not the fleeting moment of Notre Dame winning the game. It is not when you get the cool rain jacket or the 20 bucks that you find on the sidewalk. I have seen translations that substitute the word happy for blessed, and I'm not a fan. Because you see, happy is the same as blessed in the same way that a Ferrari is the same as a Volkswagen. Yeah, I know they're both cars, okay? But come on, there's a big difference between the two, don't you think? Happiness is fleeting. And like the morning dew, it evaporates into the sun. Makarios, or blessed, it sticks around a while. And what happens is when you find Makarios, when you find blessedness, it is a long state and not a fleeting moment. Like I said, Jesus is going to give us a treasure map that is going to lead us today to that which has eluded mankind since Adam and Eve were kicked out of the garden. Now, another thing I want to say before we get in, and we're going to get into it, okay? One more thing. These 9 statements, they build upon each other. It's like a stairway. You can't go to the next step until you master the first one. And another thing, as these steps go higher and higher, it gets harder and harder. This is Daily Living. I'm Father Chapin. You hang out. We'll be right back. We will continue to talk about this amazing gospel, the Beatitudes, here on the Solemnity of All Saints. Hi, this is Father Chapin, host of Daily Living. What a pleasure it is to come into your home each and every week to spread the good news, but it's very expensive. Now, I got good news and bad news. The good news is we got plenty of money. The bad news is still in your pocket. So if you'd like to help the ministry, please send a check to Daily Living at 325 West Main Street, White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia, 24986. And together we take the good news to a lost world. Welcome back to Daily Living. Now, just before the break, we were talking about the instinctual need that humanity has to be happy. That's true. And of course, our God who loves us and made us, he wants us to be happy. So what does he do? He provides us the roadmap. And the roadmap is what we're going to be talking about right now. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. That's our first step. And already we got a problem. We got a problem. Poor in spirit, really? I mean, that seems a bit odd, don't you think? I mean, poor in spirit. I thought poor or poverty, that suggests that you're lacking something, right? Like you don't have enough spirit. Why would you want to be lacking in spirit? But hold on there, Sparky, not so fast. Maybe there's something else here. What does poor in spirit really mean? Well, you know, one really nice way to try to define something, to kind of get your mind around something, is to, look at the opposite of it. It's called the antithetical. And particularly when it comes to spiritual matters, the antithetical is often a much more accurate description. For example, if you were to say God is love, of course you would be correct. But given our limited understanding as human beings of what love really is, it would be much more accurate to say God is not hate. Do you see? All right, so anyway, we're trying to figure out what is poor in spirit. So let's consider what is rich in spirit. You know, as a priest, I get this quite a bit. I'm not really a religious person, but I'm very spiritual, And I'm thinking, what does that even mean? I'm not even sure what you're talking about. I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. What I think that is saying is, I'm self-sufficient in my spirituality. In other words, I don't really need any advice. I've constructed my own golden calf and, well, I'm quite satisfied. Now, I'm tempted, don't say it, but I'm thinking it. Well, that's pretty rich. Really. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of a particular serpent in a particular garden. Oh, so long ago, who whispered, oh, you can be like God and you'll be real spiritual. Isn't that true? These are people that revel in this world, what I call the lords of mammon. Why? Because it's the most important thing in their lives. These are the rich in spirit. Now, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying in any way that acquiring wealth is wrong or evil. There's nothing wrong with having money. Okay, but there's something seriously wrong with being so obsessed and in love with your money that you lull yourself into believing, I don't need God, right? Get that? You see what I'm talking about? If you're there, my friend, congratulations. You are rich in spirit. Now, I say all of that to say this. Being poor in spirit simply recognizes the fact that we, in and of ourselves, are spiritually anemic. Poor in spirit is simply the realization that I am never going to be happy or satisfied until the God-shaped hole is filled with God. I need God. He is the only source of my happiness because he's the source of all happiness. And I need Jesus to connect me to the power source that I don't have, right? That's your first step. Step 2, blessed are they who mourn, for they will be comforted. Again, really? That's a head scratcher. Okay, we're not really getting off to such a good start, are we? Blessed are those who mourn. I mean, I don't know about you, but mourning to me at least means that I am sad. I am sad, and I'm associating the word mourning because somebody died that I love, right? So I'm sad. Why am I blessed if I'm sad if somebody I love dies? I mean, what gives? Well, let's consider that word mourning. Okay? Mourning somebody that died that you love, well, you know, that's really just one facet of mourning. When you think about it, let's open up that word mourning to the bigger picture. Consider maybe you are mourning the fate of this world. I mean, it don't take a rocket scientist to figure out that we're in trouble. I mean, you don't have to look too far to see the evil in this world. Whether you're talking about the atrocities that happen in the Middle East or even in the mass shootings in our own country. We live in a fallen state. And there just doesn't seem to be a whole lot of institutions these days that we can trust. It seems like everybody's lying. And if you really take a good look at that, you know, it will bring you to a state of mourning at what you see. So maybe what Jesus is pointing out here is the simple fact that if you look around this world and you are mourning, well, you get it. You understand. Because there's going to come a day when you will be comforted because he's coming back, my friends. Next step, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Well, again, it's a bit curious for 2 reasons. Number 1, if I'm mourning the world, why would I ever want to inherit it? Okay? I mean, that don't make a whole lot of sense. Am I missing something? Well, that's a good question. And I think the answer is quite simple. Behold, I make all things new. You see, when he comes back, there's going to be a few changes made around here. But let's move on. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. That word meek is a bit odd. You know, I've always thought meek, at least in our culture, means weak, right? But then again, is another victim of translation. The word meek actually derives from an Old English equestrian word. For you children, that means horses, right? So meek originally is described as a wild stallion, which I don't know if you've ever been around a wild horse, but they're quite spirited, to say the least, okay? But when a wild stallion is in complete control of its master, wild strength, which by the way is metaphorical to your will, because it's a wild stallion, is under complete submission and obedience to its master, which by the way is metaphorical to your heavenly Father. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be satisfied. Have you ever been really hungry? You know, my brother, he's got this thing, when I say, I'm starving, man, he goes, don't say that. You don't know what starving is. And that is true. I've never been starving. I've been hungry. Starving is quite a different issue, right? Or what about thirsty? When your mouth is so parched, all you can think about, I gotta get a glass of water, and nothing is going to satisfy your thirst. Well, it's kind of like the morning, the step before. Okay, if you take a good look around, you see the injustice that plagues this world, the brokenness of our world. Jesus is telling us, you recognize that? Okay, you're going to be blessed. Why? Because we will be satisfied. And like that first glass of water, when you're really, really thirsty and a parched throat, we're going to say, blessed are those, or blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Okay, we're getting into the tough stuff now. Okay, I mean, I personally, I've struggled with this one. I've had more than a few occasions where people, being people, have said and done things that have made me angry. And I lose all my peace. And I will talk to wise men and women who will say, Father, you need to pray for those people. I'm like, really? Pray for them? Pray they get hit by lightning? What are you talking about praying for them? But you see, hear me when I say, this is universal. If you have poisoned yourself with some deep resentment, even if it's justifiable, guess what? Newsflash, you're not going to be a happy person, period. As you toss and turn in your bed, rehearsing all those conversations that you will never happen, you will grow sicker and sicker as the days go by. Time and time again, Jesus warns us, hey, don't even think about showing up asking for mercy if you yourselves cannot show mercy. We find it in parables, even in the Lord's Prayer. Okay, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Now you might say, well, Father, see, you don't know what they did. You don't understand. Okay, they don't deserve my mercy. And that's, of course, that's true. I'd say, yeah, of course they don't deserve it. If they did, it wouldn't be mercy now, would it? Blessed are the pure of heart, or the clean of heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they are called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for the sake of the kingdom. Blessed are you when they insult you and persecute you and utter every false kind of thing against you. Because of me, rejoice and be glad. Your reward will be great in heaven. Now, I grouped the last four together because this is doctrinal level Christianity. This is a level where many of us will never get to. Because remember, we got to build on the steps before. And each one that goes up gets harder and harder. And you know, these last four, they're real hard. And most of us never get there because we can't master the first five, okay? But let me tell you something. If you do find yourself in the pantheon of graduate level discipleship, okay, you're going to find out pretty quickly that nobody is clean of heart. Nobody. I mean, not even Mother Teresa, by her own admission, said she was far from clean of heart. That's a process. That's a lifelong journey, my friend. Persecuted, really? That's a recipe for happiness? Like I said, this is tough stuff. That's why most of us will never get here. If you've been with us over the last couple of weeks, it's become pretty obvious that we in and of ourselves can never get here. Never. Remember the rich young ruler. What must I do to inherit the kingdom of heaven? And if you recall, he left very sad. Why? Because he realized there was nothing he could do. Jesus told him to leave and take all your stuff and follow me, and you'll be happy. But he couldn't. He couldn't. In other words, Jesus was saying, put me first in your life, but he can't do it. And to be honest, we can't do it. So where does that leave us? What hope could we possibly have? You know, I remember I was watching Charles Stanley. Do you know this guy? This guy is amazing. I mean, he's the best. I love this man, okay? Anyway, he said, this was years ago. I wasn't even in seminary at the time. He said, you know what? I can't live the Christian life. And I remember thinking, what? You? Sir Charles, what are you talking about? If you can't live the Christian life, who can? And then he said, and I'll never forget this, he said, because this really puts the finger on what we're talking about today. He says, no, I cannot live the Christian life. But Christ, through his Holy Spirit, who lives inside of me, can, and I'm going to let him. Wow. That is the key to the whole thing. That is the hinge upon which this whole door swings, my friends. We, in and of ourselves, we cannot change. But if we turn that rogue stallion of a will over to God, he can change us. We can't stop sinning, but the Holy Spirit living inside of us, if we allow it, will take away its flavor, and we will lose our appetite for sin. You know, I'm from the South. They talk about being born again down there a whole lot. That, of course, coming from the conversation between Jesus and Nicodemus. You see, we were born in this world, and the world is grafted into the very marrow of our bones. But if we see Jesus with an open heart and invite him into our life, he will pull this world out of the marrow of our bones. Oh, yeah. We'll still be in this world, but not of this world. And then we will be poor in spirit. And then we will mourn. Then we will be meek. Then we will hunger and thirst for righteousness. Then we will be merciful. And then we will seek peace over conflict. We will be persecuted, but we will be blessed. You know, every day in this country, somebody does something nice for somebody else. Today, why don't you let that somebody be you? This is Daily Living. I'm Father Chapin. Hope you can come back next week and we'll do it again. Until then, I hope you let God live in your life. And I bless you in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit.